Well, good Monday to you. How are you doing? Growing? Elevating? Good, good. So, let's have a discussion about some perceived realities that all of us, no one's exempt, have been immersed into. A reality that very well may in fact be proven correctly is all wrong. And so if we begin to simply connect the dots, so what we're going to do here, give me 1 second. So give me 1 second. We're having a frank discussion, right? So what we're going to try to do here, we're going to try to connect the dots, right? If they can be connected. And if they can be, what does it show, if anything? So I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. And when I get the pictures up, then I will tell you what we're looking at, because it does and will most likely start impacting your cognitive association. And that's how all of us relate to this outside reality that all of us are in individually. All right, so hold on 1 second here. All right, so what you are looking at here is the oldest known carvings, monoliths, known to humanity. What makes this even stranger is that it shatters all the perceived, how shall we say, thoughts on archaeological understandings of the earth, particularly where humans are concerned, and then particularly where they were in the timeline. Was it the Ice Age? Was it the Paleolithic period? Was it the Cretaceous period? How well did that then migrate into what we would call the Neolithic period? And that is right after the Ice Age, where mankind began to evolve into a higher form of understanding and consciousness, so much so where they could basically organize. They went from hunter-gatherers of a isolation of small tribes to where they began to have language, they began to have social structure, and they then began to institute laws, rules, rituals. Okay? So let me just tell you something, because actually I really have been up for most of the night, because I have been, something inside of me is driving this point for my own cognitive understanding. Because if in fact that this is true, what we're seeing here, right? And this is a cast, because this is now buried. This dates back to what they say is 9,600 600 chronological years. Now, that is based on a timeline of 9,600 years. Now, you have to add to the postmodern calendar another 2,100 years to that. That becomes a problem, because now we're getting around 11,600. Man, we don't have records of this. This predates the Sumerian text. It predates everything, folks. And what this is saying is that a comet struck the Earth 12,800 years ago. Humans were living on the planet, had a very sophisticated society, far more advanced than even us. Now, that's not possible. Not possible under our current rules of understanding paleontology, archaeology, the geological record. Something isn't right. Because I'll tell you what this is implying. This is implying, well, it's doing more than that. And by the way, the reason why this is not, and I repeat, not in the history books yet, it was discovered in 2007 by a German archaeological group. In fact, it was the German Archaeological Institute. And this is in Turkey, Göbekli Tepe. And the sophistication, this is now known as, and it's huge, huge in the scale of the single largest gathering of humans. Folks, again, this predates the Mesopotamian records. This predates the Egyptian records. This predates everything by over 6,000 years. Now, the understanding of the creatures you're seeing there, well, actually, remember, in many cultures, they wear headdresses. They'll sometimes wear the head of a buffalo. Same thing going on here, folks. And now, very interesting to what these monoliths, and these monoliths, by the way, are 20 feet tall, weigh about 15 tons. Now, how they were erected. The interesting thing as well, as the digging has gone on, what they're finding is that the oldest is of the highest quality, the purest in imagery, and it's the later subsequent monuments that were smaller, sloppier, and had shown a distinct de-evolving. Yeah, think about this. And what this is saying is that this comet, which is depicted here, hit the Earth. They were aware of this. They knew it. In fact, the way that they buried this, and they buried them to protect them from what was coming. And apparently, this comet hit, it was devastating. Wiped out 9/10 of the planet. And we have now an understanding of how this happened. Now, it gets a little bit more deeper. I am not into, I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not the one that studies ancient cultures, but actually I do, but not on the academic level, much like you, just a layman. Read a lot, because fortunately, that's how knowledge is increased. And we have today, if a person really wants to pursue knowledge, it can be done. The problem is that most of the time we are restricted. We have that barbed wire on our heads. So let's think about this now. Give me 1 second. All right, so back with you. So let's think about this. We now see the archaeological record no longer valid. Dates have to be redone. History will have to be rethought and rewritten. And that is a huge threat to the status quo. But kid you not, it's going to have to. So, if history is going to have to be rethought and rewritten, I have a question. So, we can now at least connect 3 dots, right? So, here we are. And now, let's say, I want to get one more thing here for a second. So, we know this, that there is now clear evidence. So now it kind of fills in a lot of the pieces we've been searching for, particularly in the chronology of humanity. So we have a distinct Ellie event here. Life-eliminating event. It happened. And apparently, the Earth was struck twice. The first time the comet came through, apparently the biggest chunk hit the Earth. Excuse me. And it took about 1,200 years for the comet to come back around, or the pieces of it, however you want to classify it. And a second fragment hit us. Now that gets a little weird. So 1,200 years from the first event to the second impact. First event, apparently fire, heat, massive heat. Second event, deluge. 1,200 years. Now, think about this. Follow me. So, we have one event that apparently there were some survivors. Interesting. Apparently, there was also an advanced civilization. Apparently, got the hell out of Dodge. Apparently, went under the Earth. All right, now follow me. So, we have 2 events, and we can, let's just say, supposedly, but it's actually evidence to show it to be more truth than not. I mean, when you find archaeological digs that do, in fact, break all the status quo of the norms, because you have to understand, this impacts more than just the chronological record of humanity. So let's finish this out. Then we have the event that was almost the second time that almost wiped us out. So that would then bring us to some questions. And here is my question that was actually brought out yesterday with Jeff Doherty and I. We do a show every Sunday. Next week, I'll be hosting it live on my channel. But go over to Jeff Doherty, the Christian Whistleblower, subscribe to his channel, and check out the video. So here's my question. I've been pondering this for a long time, and by the comments that we got from yesterday's show, apparently a lot of you have as well. And here's my question. With all the religions on the planet today, of which there are now dozens, but if we kind of stuck with the mainstream, right, which I think would be probably 8, 9. My question is, how can they all be right and how can they all be wrong? Regardless of what your particular view is, if you're like myself, you've come out from the God spell, you now can look at things in a different point of view, different set of glasses. So how can we say that our belief systems, our belief in our God is the only one true God? Can I just simply put something to you? Is that not the epitome of bigamy? To say that your God is the only one true God is to diminish the rest of humanity. Because we get into some conundrums here. How long has your God been around? Now, I come from the Christian point of view. Christianity didn't have a God. When they were inventing the religion, and it is an invented religion, it's an amalgamation of a lot of Hellenistic beliefs, and they actually stole a God from the enemy they just conquered. They were a conquered race. And no one was going to put up a bitch session about someone else stealing their God. And that's what Christianity did. So that means then you have to go back from the God that Christianity borrowed from. Let's just use, that's a more softer word. Borrowed, Judeo-Christianity. And by the way, it's an oxymoron. It really is. But in any case, so then you have to go back to, where the Jews got their God. How did that God originate? And as you take that back through the steps, then you find out that actually the Hebraic God, most likely the Sumerian God. Now, we begin to look at other beliefs. Take the Hindu belief. It's older than Christianity, older than Hebrew. Why isn't their belief systems much more accepted? Because they tell a different story. I mean, I challenge any one of you to tell me why your God is the superior God. Let's say you believe in the Christian God. Lord Krishna says that he is more superior to your God. And then Islam would tell you that Allah is the supreme God. And we haven't even talked about the rich, long history and culture of the Oriental. China, Indochina, Japan. got a history longer than any Christian history. Do you see where I'm coming at? What happened if we have this event? Then that means everything got wiped out, consciously wise, except for apparently this culture, this race that went underground. So then that got me to thinking, okay, this is nuts. You can't have where someone can say that there is the only one true God. Doesn't work. So we got to bust that myth out. Here's the other thing. When's the last time any God has manifested itself? I mean, actually showed up in a physical form and presented itself before humanity. Because here is my point to this whole program this morning. It's time that humanity throw off these invisible, unseen, non-existent gods. Hear me on this. Show me one God. Show me a God that has shown up in the last 6,000 years, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, 1,000, 2,000, 100 years. Do you see what's going on here? Every God that exists is because we made them up. They're all made up. Even Christianity. You know, everyone's getting all wrapped around the axle because of the 23rd. You know what's going to happen on the 24th? We're going to have a lot of people going, oh, crap. Really thought I had the ticket to get out of here. Sorry, sweetheart. Suck it up, cupcake. You hitched your horse to the wrong wagon. The fact is, ladies and gentlemen, unless a God is willing to manifest itself before humanity, and I say the council of humanity, and explain themselves as to why humanity should worship them, folks, we don't need to worship any gods. The day we begin to understand it's up to us. It's up to us to create that which we want. And we have. You can see the confusion in the world. It's everywhere. My God, you would think that with all the technology today, that we were supposed to have these lives of luxury, and we were supposed to be able to pursue the arts and the humanities, and, you know, because the technology was going to do it all for us. I don't know about you, but when I look out there, I'm going to tell you what, a lot of what I see and read, all I say is these people are bat crap crazy. You know, what always amazes me is that you have, again, this delusion of humanity. You know, we always want to talk about the humanitarian, right? And at the same time, those very same people are the one who are promoting the hate, the division. I mean, if your words are to invoke hatred, division, then you are an agent of hate. That's all you are. And that's what they want. And when you think about it, that's what religion does. It comes in the guise of saying, oh, well, we're going to offer you a way to peace and serenity. And when you get into the spell of it, it's anything but. Show me what religion has accomplished for mankind. Show me. Show me one religion that hasn't had the blood spilt of our species to support it. Show me anything lasting any one religion has done. Show me its impact. I mean, if there's truly just one true God, well, then we should be able to see the effects of that. No, I hear some of you say, well, it's God punishing us. For what? And who the hell is he to be punishing anyone? My point is, if you want to believe in the monotheistic belief, fine. Actually, it's more polytheistic. You can't have a papa without a mama that produces a baby. You get it? But still, they got some answering to do. Listen, if the purpose of collective consciousness is to elevate and raise man's consciousness, I haven't seen any evidence of any great breakthrough. I haven't. Now, there are wonderful, wonderful, and dynamic and tremendous new voices that are going to start unifying this. But we have got to shatter these illusions. And my question is, which religion is the right religion? Explain to me why it is above all the rest. Explain to me why the need for religion. And don't tell me about morals. Listen, you don't need religion to teach you morals. If you lack morals, what you lack is empathy for your species. That's the inherent gift. And we don't use it. We focus so much of our core energies into unseen deities that never manifest and all seem to require our blood. Folks, that's messed up. It's flat messed up. My question is, when are we going to get out of this? I say this, if there's any God out there who wants to take the title, then you manifest before humanity. Seriously. Because you got some answering to do, no matter how you do it. And you tell us why we should worship you. Why would a God want to be worshiped? Do you want your kids to worship you? To grovel at your feet? At some point in time, you're going to say, grow up. Become your own person. Right? Isn't that how it goes? As it is on here on the earth, shouldn't it be up the same way? I mean, do you really want your kids, the ones that you procreated, to worship you? Because it's the same thing. And again, show me a God, show me any God. And don't give me this standard corporate pitch. Well, God lives within you, Wayne. The kingdom of God is in you. Did you just hear what you just said? God lives within me. No, what you're actually saying is that you are God. Mankind is a God. And if we ever come together in that collective awareness and realize that these other gods, listen, the way you kill gods is this: you stop believing in them. And they become nothing more than the dust of our past. And trust me, humanity has a long list of dead gods. Christianity, new kid on the block. The question is why? And then you get into the mind trap again. So we get back to the fact that now we're finding records that date back nearly 11,600 years ago. They tell a different story. And then the question is, how did all these other gods get here? You can't diminish a whole religion because it's different than your religion. That's the problem. It's your religion. It's not humanity's. We invented these things. Again, I challenge any God out there to manifest itself before mankind. You're saying that's crazy. No, it's not. I think it's probably the most sane thing that I have begun to hear, as far as I can see, in all of the written record. And the day that humanity grows up, learns to stop depending on unseen deities to be the salvation of our messes. Because that's what it is. We created this. There's no God that created this. We did. Listen, there is an infinite being. There is a life force that flows through all living things. Now, maybe man has taken that and made a God out of it. But just because that there's something that shot out of the sky that hits the earth, so what? If it's coming from outside of the earth, that means it's extraterrestrial. That means any God is extraterrestrial. It's just common sense questions. And it's my hope that this message will go out everywhere. I challenge any God to manifest itself, any God, and manifest itself, let's say manifest itself to the UN. UN is meeting this week with all the nations. So if there is, in fact, a real God out there, join me in the challenge, everyone, and just say, show yourself. Listen, it's if we believe in gods unseen, why don't we believe in ourselves? We can see each other. Why isn't that more tangible, more real, more authentic? So, again, in your comments, if you watch this, tell me where I'm wrong. And again, my challenge is, if you're a God, then show yourself. Hold yourself accountable, because you see, the door swings both ways. You can't make a rule or a law and exempt yourself. We've seen that in our Congress. They exempt themselves from every rule or regulation that's a burden upon us. Oh, crap, that's religion. I think there's an accountability both ways. I don't know about you, but I got a laundry list here of some things that I think needs explaining. The least of which, that if you're so omnipotent, all seeing, all knowing, that's a sadistic mind. I don't care what the end is. It's cost humanity our soul. And I think the only way we start getting our soul of humanity back is that when we will recognize, when all the races, you know what the UN failed to do? They serve other masters. They don't serve humanity. Because if they, you see, Now, that was weird. They're listening to us all the time. But my whole point is, I think there needs to be a new council, not a United Nations. That'll never work. That's a political, motivated, tyrannical organization. What I think should happen is that we should form a council of humanity. And the vetting process to get on there is that you have to, at the very minimum, at least be awake enough to know that humanity is a collective consciousness. And in order to get on this council, you have to be able to demonstrate what you've added to ascend the collective consciousness of humanity. We can find them. There's a lot of people out there that could do that. We need to keep it no profit, none of this crap. There's no need for it. The council is here but for one purpose. Our first purpose would be to challenge any deity that wants to claim itself as the God, a God, must manifest itself before the council. And we will then vet with that. And then we can put it to a vote. You know, we could form that council, we could make that demand, and we would be sitting there 100 years from now waiting for a manifestation. It's never going to happen, folks. Hasn't happened in thousands and thousands of years, yet people hold on to this somehow belief that it's going to happen now. And I'll just be very candid with you. The fact of the matter is that if, in fact, a God was to manifest itself, we wouldn't believe it. Now, we'd have those who would, because there is the weakness of our collective consciousness, because we've never strengthened it. We've never disciplined it to create out of the ether the nothingness and to bring it into the physical. The D-Wave computers, that's what they're attempting to do, and they have said they have done it. They've been able to bring material from other realities, other universes into ours on the quantum level. The point is, until we get to that point, we're always going to be dominated by our fears, our collective fears. This is what we're seeing today. It is a full manifestation, folks. We've done this to ourselves. People say, well, we've seen evidences of, demonic possessions. Well, is that what you're really seeing? Or are you actually seeing the physical manifestation of a person's mind who tapped in to creating that reality? How many of you have been shocked before? Touched a live wire? Yeah. You see, I believe every one of us individually has that spark of divinity. And it's a spark of divinity. It's from the divine. Yeah. I talked about that life force. Many different cultures have different names for it. Ricky, Chi. I think Piranha is another one. Piranha. That's what it is. And when we begin to understand these things, and the first ones that'll have to go will be the religious beliefs. It's time to do away with gods who won't manifest themselves. And again, if one showed up, most people would reject it. As much as they want to believe, because that's who we are. We have the ability to do so much. Now, are there other species, other races? Yeah, I believe that. Sure, I do. To think that we're just the, isolated out here, we may be isolated, but I don't think we're alone. So think about it. I think that humanity's challenge needs to come out and say, if you're going to take the top position, if you really want the job, you're God, then time for you to buck up. Time for you to get your ass down here and show yourself. Why is that so far-fetched? So you tell me. All right, Core 100 group. It looks like Wednesday evening is the thing. It seems like everyone. So if you can't make it, that's fine. I'll make a recording of it. You'll get a copy of it so you can look at it. And we're going to get this thing launched. This is what's been waiting for. And again, just think about this. How can all the religions be right? And then how can they all be wrong? How can one be more superior to the other? And why have them at all? Listen, I'll close with this. If humanity could put away its need or dependency on unseen deities that no one has seen, no one can question, it's all up here, then why waste our time on it? Why proselytize someone else and try them to convince them that your belief is the only one? It's not. Why don't we just get real and say it's us? We're the real. We are real. Let's believe in us. So, appreciate every one of you. Have a great day, and got more installments coming on the secret knowledge. All right, we'll talk soon. Be kind to one another.